Tonight, on Closing Arguments, in Riley, Mississippi, Jeffrey Spence is on trial accused of murdering his daughter's boyfriend during a robbery. Prosecutors say he plotted with his wife Karen and their daughter Caitlin to kill Kirby Carpenter. Caitlin already pled guilty to her role in the crime, and yesterday she testified against her own father. Today, his other daughter took the stand against him. But first, in the quiet college town of Moscow, Idaho, the brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students shattered a community. Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death in their off-campus home around 4 a.m. That same day, around noon, the bodies of the 4 students were discovered, the scene drenched in chaos and terror, as investigators tried to piece together what happened. At the exact same time, the quadruple murderer responsible for the horrific deaths was nonchalantly running errands in a neighboring town. Tonight, we have the newly released video. Good evening and welcome to Closing Arguments on this Friday night. I'm Ted Rollins in for Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us. We're learning more about the hours after the 4 University of Idaho students were brutally stabbed to death in November of 2022. The killer, Bryan Kohberger, entered the off-campus house at 4 a.m., around there. That's when he killed Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. And then he got in his white Hyundai Elantra and drove away. Then, just hours after brutally murdering 4 people, he took this disgusting thumbs-up selfie. This is at 10:30 in the morning. An hour and a half later, at 11:56, the first 911 call comes in to the King Road address, and that becomes a crime scene. First responders go, they discover the 4 bodies in the house, and investigators they start the interviews and trying to figure out this chaos at the scene. At the exact same time, Bryan Kohberger was calmly walking into Costco, apparently without a membership. He was asked to leave, and that's not the only place he went. Tonight we're going to break it all down, all the videos of where he went that next morning after slaughtering those 4 young, innocent college students. Gray Hughes is the host and creator of Gray Hughes Investigates. He's got a YouTube channel. We've seen him. We know him. He's with us. He actually shared all this new surveillance video with us. And we're going to walk through it all. And let's start with the 9 a.m. hour, 9:13. He's back in the white Elantra. He goes back to the scene. And of course, we remember he left that knife sheath there. So presumably he goes back to his house in Washington State and has the uh-oh feeling and comes back to the house. Let's start there. There's video of the Elantra at 9:13 a.m. And I guess this is it here. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's driving on, I think, Highway 95 and Lauder Avenue, right next to the A&W, where he's caught originally coming in the morning at 3:28 into the area. This is actually like 9:13 in the morning. And it shows that he's back in Moscow near sort of the area where he entered originally, but they don't have any information that he showed up back at the house. I mean, I was just wondering if he drove by kind of on a street near there and then looked, you know, he wanted to admire what he did. I know that he left the sheath there, but it seems like an odd time to go back to look for one at 9:13 in the morning.
Absolutely.
And that would be, like, you would think there'd be people all over the place at that time.
Yeah, but if he did go back and he kept going into the house, he would have seen nobody had been called. There were no officers. He could have slipped into that house, presumably at 9:13, and gotten that sheath. But he didn't, and it was there, and that, of course, was the key bit of evidence that led to the arrest. All right, let's go now. After the murders, he is caught on video first, and this is an extended video here, and we'll let you kind of talk us through it. I'll interrupt you, and we'll just go through it. But let's pick it up at the Costco, where no membership, but here comes Kohberger.
Yeah, he's just gonna walk in. I mean, it is pretty weird when you juxtaposition of where back at the actual 1122 King Road residence, law enforcement is just barely, I think, even arriving at this time. And, you know, he's walking, having a drink, comes in. Obviously, it's a Costco where you're supposed to say, hey, do you have your ID? You can tell that's what the lady asked. And he's like, oh, you know, trying to talk his way out of it, kind of similarly, probably he tried to do with that female officer. When,
you could just imagine what he's saying in that nerdy voice. But he's got his hand in the pocket. Is that important?
Well, I think that, you know, there is a Band-Aid. We weren't able to tell if it was a Band-Aid for a long time until those new images came out. And you could definitely see it was a Band-Aid. And he has that in his pocket. He also seems to be kind of holding that hand a little strange as he's coming in, and then he puts it in his pocket. And we don't know if that Band-Aid was from the incident, but seems kind of likely since, you know, a knife was used in the homicides.
Yeah. So he leaves the Costco, and then there's video of him. I guess there's his. This is the exit of the Costco where we'll see the white Elantra.
Yeah. So I think he exited, and he's way over to on the screen. It would be over to the right. So he's way over there somewhere, and he enters into his car, and that's not his car right there. See the one in the middle on the right-hand side? That's not his. His comes in a little bit later. So it's just going to be right after this. You'll see it, and that's not even it either.
What city is this Costco in? This is not Pullman. This is not Moscow.
Clarkston. It's in Clarkston, Washington. And this is really close to the Albertsons, actually, that he goes to later.
Okay, and in Clarkston is sort of south of both Pullman and Moscow, out of the way.
Yeah,
but this was this weird way he took home, and now I guess he's back.
Yeah, you would drive on Highway 195 all the way down to Lewiston and then cross over into Clarkston. And there he is right there. So he's going to pull out of the Costco parking lot and turn right. And you can literally watch his car drive all the way down there, and it's heading towards the next location that we'll see called Kate's Cup of Joe. And there's a camera on the chef store there filming Kate's Cup of Joe. We'll probably see that here in a minute. But you can still see his car right there, even now. It just goes out of sight right there.
And Kate's Cup of Joe is one of those shacks, kind of coffee little huts that drive up and grab. But he doesn't, does he go, he doesn't actually get coffee, does he?
No, that's the thing. He just sort of drives right through. And, you know, apparently that was during, you know, working hours. You know, we don't know if somebody just happened to not be there at that moment. Maybe they went to use the restroom somewhere. We don't know. But here's a camera across. Now, in the upper right-hand corner is Kate's Cup of Joe. The camera's on the chef store there. And it's filming Kate's Cup of Joe in the upper right. And then, interestingly, though, you can't see the car come on the road right next to it where you think you should. So he's probably over in the Walmart parking lot and then pulled in over here, but we don't know. So here he is driving behind Kate's Cup of Joe really slowly, you know. I mean, if he's not going to Kate's Cup of Joe, it's a really strange place to have turned your car to go into because it's a really narrow, small little driveway. I mean, he did it. I mean, we don't know. Maybe he was going to buy a coffee. Don't really know. And then here he comes through the parking lot. And then
he's just murdered 4 people. I mean, it's just disgusting. And
it's just crazy how he just sort of drives really slow. And then he stops over here, kind of somewhat in the middle of the parking lot. Although we can't see to the right, there might be a line of cars getting ready to exit the parking lot. I don't know. I didn't see any too many other cars driving around in there, but you see him just stop there. You know, heck, is this one of the times he called his mom, you know, for a moment? I mean, who the hell knows, right?
Right, yeah. Well, we do know that he was on the phone with Mother, as he called her, in the 9 o'clock hour. And then later throughout the day, he had contacted his parents several times via text and phone all the way through that whole day after the horrific murders. He seems to just be going on with his life-ish, but do you think he's trying to be picked up on surveillance in another city that's far away from Moscow that is maybe the motive here for gallivanting around in his Elantra?
Yeah. That's weird. That's crossed my mind too. Like he's just trying to, hey, I was over here. But, I mean, the homicides took place 8 hours before. So I don't really, it's just strange. This whole behavior. I don't know if he's down here to scout out where to maybe toss the weapon for the final location. I mean, you would think he'd already dumped the weapon earlier, right? Like before he even made it back to Pullman, you would think, early in the morning.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, but what does he still have? Possibly clothing or something. Now I guess we're at the Albertsons.
That's right. And you see him pulling in right here. And then there's a white truck in the middle top of the screen. He drives behind that, but then goes across the next, I guess he goes to the sort of the intersection over there, but goes behind that and then parks to the left-hand side of the screen behind that gray pickup truck with a camper on the back. So he parks right over there, and you can literally see through the window, something white kind of standing up back there, and then he ends up walking towards Albertsons.
And was this was this all a part of the investigation? This may have been introduced at trial?
Oh yeah. Every bit of this was mentioned in those documents. Every single camera's time frame and what Kohberger was doing was mentioned, and this matches precisely what they had documented. And in a moment here, he walks over, and you can see him wearing his. Well, actually, I think this is another clip. It was at the same time, but there's his white Elantra pulling in, and it'll get back behind that same truck, and then he walks out. So they had two cameras that filmed the same moment in time, played back to back.
Gotcha.
And then soon we'll see him walking. There he is. But you can actually see him right there by my YouTube Gray Hughes Investigates logo there. He's walking right by the red truck now with the white shirt, dark pants on. Oh, and here he comes. And it's weird, his arms are just down by his side. I mean, sometimes I wonder if I just perceive him walking certain ways being weird just because we know what he did. I mean, but like he doesn't swing his arms. It's kind of strange.
Well, yeah. You're right. Now that knowing what he did, everything he does is monstrous. So now we're inside this store, the Albertsons.
Right, and then this also has, like, you could edit this where you put the time codes, match them up, and then he would walk right into the door right after he turned. But there's some overlap time here. So in a minute here, he's going to come in, and then he's going to walk down. There he is right there.
He is. Yeah, he looks like Lurch. His gait is odd.
Well, what was really strange is how he talked about, remember that one question he says, man, you have nice birthing hips,
Oh, right.
It sort of looked like he was talking about himself. I mean, it was pretty strange.
What is he? Do we know what he buys at the Albertsons? Do we know what he purchases?
He actually buys a coffee, and then right on the left, that was a skip of time right there. They skipped 6 minutes because he just disappears. And then right over there on the left-hand side of the screen, he rings in the coffee, and again, it's just sort of like, wow, look at this guy. I mean, right now it's 12:56, so you have officers all around the house, filming, inside 1122 King Row, and he's just over there, casually buying a coffee. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like nothing happened.
It is absolutely scary and shocking when you think about the juxtaposition, because the chaos in King Road is, to your point, they're talking to the roommates, and everyone's figuring out what happened to these 4 kids, and here he is over at the Albertsons.
Yeah, and I mean, this case to me has been really incredibly interesting because it's not a typical killer. This guy is like, we don't even really know why the heck he did this, right? I mean, he seems like a serial killer that would have been one, except he got caught on the first homicides. And there he goes, exiting with the bag and the coffee in there, and then he's going to make his way back to his vehicle.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when he gets back to his vehicle, then he drives out, and he actually sits there for about 6 minutes. I think they cut that part out, but he sits in his car for 5 or 6 minutes, and then he's going to drive over to the exit, and I think he leaves at about 1:04. But then his phone is dark. You know, his phone was on this whole time. It's almost like he turned it off right then, because it goes dark all the way until 5:32. So you might want to, you know, question, like, what was he doing during that time? And at 5:32, it turned on, and at 5:36, it turned off again. And then it doesn't turn back on again until 8 o'clock at night. So there's this whole bunch of time where he could have been disposing of items.
Right. So at this point right now, he may still have the knife. He may still have clothes, may have things to get rid of. And that's when he goes dark with his phone.
And I think that's him right there leaving. Is it 10? I can't see the time on here, but if it's 1:04, that might have been him taking off. Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah,
there you go.
That was him leaving. Yeah, he was 34 miles away from Moscow there. Great, thank you for the narration there and the video, sharing that with us. Gray Hughes Investigates. Check him out. He's always cracking cases and you know, little tidbits here and there. We appreciate it. As always, enjoy your weekend, Gray. We'll talk soon. We're going to get a break. When we come back, Think Tank's going to jump into the discussion. Plus, we're going to look at the other side. When all of this was going on with Kohberger while he's out driving around, getting a coffee, getting shut down at Costco, the chaos at King Road. We'll show you the videos of the exact same times corresponding, and it is shocking. Coming up next hour on Vinnie Politan Investigates.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Sean Diddy Combs is still behind bars after the jury found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. That same jury acquitted him of the more serious charges, even after hearing testimonies about freak-offs, menage-a-trois with male escorts, and domestic violence. So tonight, we're asking, is Diddy a predator or a voyeur?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
The brutal murders of 2 young girls.
Delphi is not one of those places where this would happen.
I killed Abby and Lily.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Season premieres Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
She saw a guy masked, about 6 foot, skinny build like a basketball player, she described. Said that he had a just full black mask, see, like a ski mask, at about 4. Immediately after, she yelled and said there's someone in the house. The girl ran, locked herself in her room. Could hear a roommate that was upstairs, Kaylee. Somehow she was able to discern there was Kaylee screaming. Then she could hear this masked man saying, sorry. What do you call Brett? She could hear him say, you're gonna be fine, I'm gonna help you.
All right, those were the 2 sides of the equation. You saw the officers outside of 1122 King Road in Moscow trying to get their head around what was inside, 4 dead bodies. And then Kohberger walking through the Albertsons, getting a coffee and doing this self-checkout, all happening at the same moment that investigators are going over the horror show on King Road. And that's what he's doing. He's in there at the Albertsons. Now he's in Clarkston, which is not, it's about 35 miles away from Moscow. And it's about 35 miles away as well from his home up in Pullman, Washington. Those two are up here. Clarkston would be down here. Was he there intentionally? Who knows? But let's go back. We just watched last segment, Kohberger shopping. Let's go back and show you what was going on at Kane Road, and specifically officers trying to get information from Dylan Mortensen, who, of course, was the surviving roommate.
And then Maddie and Kayla came home from the club. And then we all hung out with Cancer for a little. And then me and Maddie took out Murphy, and then...
Murphy's the dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went inside to the bed, and she was still taking him out. I heard her scream, and she ran upstairs because she saw someone. That's what I'm pretty sure she said. Someone's here, and she screamed and just ran downstairs. And I called her name, but I jumped up and locked my door because I was so scared. So then I opened up the door to look, and that's when I saw the guy pass by. He looked at me, but he didn't come towards me or say anything, which was really confusing to me. I don't understand that. And I'm pretty sure he went out the side door.
Describe the guy that you saw.
I don't think he was a little bit taller than me. And, I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he's wearing a full black outfit. And he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth, and he didn't say anything to me, like, at all. I just shut the door and locked it, because I didn't know what to do.
It's first Bethany Funk and then Dylan Mortensen. That was actually a clip from an episode of Victim to Verdict, which season 3 is debuting this Saturday, 8 o'clock. The premiere is the Delphi murders. This is the second one, the Idaho 4. Hope you watch. We dive all the way into the case against Bryan Kohberger using all of the new videos and photos that have been released and interviews with police chief, etc. Hopefully you can watch Saturday night, 8 o'clock right here on Court TV. Let's bring in the think tank, criminal defense attorney Josh Colesrud, former law enforcement officer and host of Strong Enough podcasts. There's Cloudy King. Good to see you, Cloudy. And criminal defense attorney Ellis Palavides. Ellis, to you first. What stood out to you with the Bryan Kohberger nonchalantly shopping in the hours after the quadruple murders?
Given my profession, unfortunately, I have handled cases like this where you're dealing with people that have this rare sort of homicidal psychopathy. So I wasn't particularly surprised by his conduct given the nature of these killings. In other words, I expected that of him. A jury, of course, had they seen that, would be more concerned by it. However, the car was a key way that they ultimately unraveled this case. And when you're dealing with a case that you're building circumstantially, getting the timeline correct and the locations was very important from an evidentiary perspective. That said, from the true crime perspective, it obviously corroborates this sense that he is psychopathic, basically.
Yeah, cold-blooded. Claudia, what's going on in his mind? Is he intentionally doing this to get caught on video, do you think, in a city 34 miles away from the crime scene?
I think that's very possible, Ted. The other thought that I had is, you know, he went to the house earlier, nothing was happening. So is he exhibiting some nervous energy as he plans to get rid of evidence? Because in the clip we're seeing right now, you can tell his shirt is kind of, you know, poking out at the bottom. It looks like maybe his back pocket is sticking out. He tries to go into Costco where he doesn't even have a membership. So he looks somewhat normal, but he's acting very strangely in those ways. So I think he could be setting up an alibi. He could be exhibiting that nervous energy, wondering, you know, when his masterpiece will be discovered, and he's planning to get rid of the evidence.
Yeah, you can see his shirt untucked in the front there. Josh, what stood out to you?
Well, I'll tell you, I've handled a lot of homicides in my career, both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney. And what I see here is a pattern that I've seen in a lot of other cases, which is once a killer murders somebody, they need some reassurance that they can blend back in with society. So I don't see this as something clever, as a defense strategy, trying to, be seen on surveillance video. I see this as a tactic for him to reassure himself that he's in control, that he is going to be able to blend back into society. He's going to call his mom, he's going to go to class, he's going to have dinner with friends if he needs to. So he's getting back into the pattern of being normal. And this is what psychopathic people do. And this is something that I've seen time and time again in other cases where, they want to blend in because it's much more difficult to see that they're the ones that committed the crime because they look normal, which is why in hindsight, we're fascinated by this because this is his mask, acting normal. And so we're looking back in hindsight, seeing that, this is evil. This is the guy who just murdered somebody. His mask is literally being normal, and he's trying to be normal by doing these things.
Yeah, it makes you shudder because there are these people walking around the old Albertsons there. A guy's got his gallon of milk, and a dude that just killed 4 people literally walks right by. Ellis, had this case gone to trial, this would have been a part of it. This would have, and jurors would have had that feeling like, wow, he just. Because I guess people naturally think, well, if you do something bad, you're gonna, curl up in a ball and admit it, and you're not gonna do this. This just seems scary, as mundane as it is. Ellis.
I agree with you, and it does corroborate, like I said, the type of individual it would take to commit such a violent act. It's multiple violent acts. But additionally, when they're stitching the case together, don't forget the car arriving at those locations, the phone data pinging and being able to tie him on a video, that's important for identification as well. So in a trial, I think you would have a slightly different piece of evidentiary value. Prosecutors wouldn't be able to make that type of argument, I suspect. That would be considered too prejudicial. But it does have this effect on the jury, nevertheless.
Yeah, and jurors would be focused in on the detail of getting the information as they try to make a decision if this is the right guy. And boy, we all do know he's the right guy. And Claudia, I know, you guys all have experience with different versions of this type of behavior, but if he doesn't get caught, if he doesn't leave that knife sheath, this was not going to be the end, one would think. What do you think that this was maybe the beginning of a horrific run?
I absolutely think it was. He really fancied himself a maniacal serial killer here, and this was the beginning. So we're all very lucky that he did make that rookie mistake of leaving the knife sheath, because had he not, who knows if they would have been able to catch him. They did have the car, but it would have been really difficult to directly tie it to him. And I love what Josh said, that he was kind of just proving to himself that he could, walk among the normal people. And that's what's so terrifying, is that, we see him now and we think he's odd and weird and crazy, but the people that were there right beside him in those different places had no idea. And that's how he would have been able to continue through society.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make you shudder. Let's get a break. When we come back, Think Tank will be with us. The defendant's other daughter in the case we're covering takes the stand. We first heard from his older daughter, and now this daughter gets on the stand, and boy, she doesn't like her dad. That's next.
When was that? The first time you learned who killed Kirby Carpenter?
When I had the waterfall conversation with my father, I asked him if he had anything to do with Kirby's death. I asked him if what some of the things that I was hearing was true. He turned aggressive and very short with me in his answers. He said that it wasn't my job to find, who Kirby's killer was, that Enola was my only responsibility. He said that he did what he had to do, that the less I knew, the better, that I needed to keep my mouth shut or else I would lose Enola and kill him.
That was Caitlin Spence yesterday, telling the jury in her father's murder trial that he confessed to killing her boyfriend, Kirby Carpenter. And today, Jeffrey's other daughter took the stand in the case against him.
I've come here to help stop what has been going on for decades, but I have requested that where I live, how many children I have, any of that is not mentioned. I've moved several times. Once you leave a criminal family, you watch your back all the time.
What kind of TV programs did your father enjoy watching?
We watch things like Breaking Bad, Blacklist. Jeff always likes to dialogue. We were watching a movie and he said, oh, well, if I was ever going to have to kill someone, I'd use a shotgun, and that's because you wouldn't have to worry about the casing.
Did your dad, he just acquired junk?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Did that interest that your father had result in a bunch of junk in your yard?
Yes.
Was there a conversation that you, your husband, and your father had where all of this came to a head?
Yes.
And then as a result of this confrontation, did you come to any realization with Gio about your father not being who you thought he was?
I saw an anger and a violence in his eyes I had never seen before. And the way he was speaking to Gio, and I saw how angry he was, and that was when he said, I'm done, I'm out. Basically, this mess is yours.
And after that, did y'all install video surveillance around your property?
Yes, we put up cameras. At that point, there was too much animosity. There was too much that was being done behind our backs that at that point we weren't feeling safe.
Was your video surveillance system ever altered or adjusted in any way?
Yes, the camera cord to our security camera was cut. We were in the house. Jeff had been told to get all his stuff off the property because we were done. He noticed the camera, went behind our shed, cut the camera, and of course we knew he cut the camera because we're in the house, and the camera feed to one of the cameras goes out.
The animosity that you have exhibited since you got into this room this morning all stems from the building of that modular home and disagreements over that.
No, sir. My uncomfortableness with having to be in this courtroom is because that man over there is not even handcuffed.
You don't have any respect and love for your father either, do you?
Love? Yes. After understanding what he has done over the years and seeing what he's done, respect, no.
At this time, the state has announced that they have rested. In other words, now it's time for the defense to put on any witnesses if they want, and those witnesses can include you. Have you consulted with your attorney and reached a decision on whether you wish to testify in your own defense or not?
I have.
And what is that decision?
I do not want to testify.
Jeffrey Spence saying, no, I do not want to follow that act, and that is my daughter on the stand. He's had two of his daughters take the stand and basically sink him. Hey, look, boy, talk about someone blending in and looking normal. I mean, that dude looks like somebody, just a normal grandpa sitting there at the defense table, but you listen to his daughter and you get such a different story. Let's bring back Josh Colesrud, Claudia King, and Ellis Palavidas. Claudia, to you first. This case, I don't know how read in you are on it, but couple deals to mom and one of the daughters, and it leaves dad there at the defense table. Your thoughts of the strength of the case, and what'd you think of the daughter on the stand?
Wow, he is definitely not going to win the Father of the Year award if she is voting. That is very clear. The issue with the case, though, is I do think there is some reasonable doubt going on. I think the defense did a really great job of getting out the character of the victim. And while the victim isn't on trial, what that did was show that there were potentially other people that would have had reason to maybe want him gone. So I think the defense did really good at that. The one thing I wish they would have done is brought in a witness to clearly say where the defendant was on the night of the murder. We never really got that information. So I am a little concerned for the prosecution. I just don't know if they've done enough to show that he is guilty. I think he probably did it, but I just don't know if they can prove that beyond a reasonable doubt and the jury can convict.
Yeah, I know probably is not going to fly if the jury feels the same way. Josh, the victim running drugs, weapons, had a whole life which would have, to Claudia's point, put him in contact with nefarious folks. When you're defending a client, the character of the victim does come into play, does it not?
It absolutely does, and I agree wholeheartedly with my colleague Claudia. She made some great points. In this case, there certainly is a question about whether or not there is what we call a third-party defense, whether or not somebody else had the motive, means, and opportunity to commit the murder in this case. The prosecution. You always know the prosecution is in trouble when they have to use snitches in order to win their case. And that's what the daughters are. And here you have to wonder, if you're a juror, why it took over 2 years for the daughters to come forward with this incriminating information. And the defense attorneys did a good job showing that there's obviously bias. There's the promise of receiving something in return with the plea agreements and sentences. And so, their credibility is certainly in question. So at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to is whether or not the jurors actually believe the daughters or they don't. And if they do, then I think they have to convict the defendant here. However, Claudia's right. There is a lot of room here for some reasonable doubt.
Ellis, the defendant says no to taking the stand, and given the fact that there might be some reasonable doubt here, probably a good decision.
Taking the stand is one of the decisions that a defendant has to take exclusively. An attorney can counsel you on that, but ultimately it's your decision. When you have a case that's based primarily on witnesses who are polluted witnesses, if you will, then oftentimes you want to just result on you want to attack their credibility. And if you take the stand, the whole case is going to rise and fall with how you do. So it's a big risk with a big reward. In a case like this, where you're attacking how much evidence there is and that it's, polluted, then you're better off not taking that stand.
It's up to the defendant. How hard do you push a defendant that is leaning towards doing something that is going to be a disaster?
I don't like to lean hard one way or another because that is his right. I do, however, try to advise them as to how the evidence is going to come out one way or another. And sometimes I'll do a little mock cross to show them what it's going to look like. And then they oftentimes will take my advice. Okay.
Right, say, that does not look fun. Claudia, at the end of the day here, the jury does have to make this decision. The deals that were given to the mom and the daughter, Caitlin, were pretty incredible. The suspended sentence, so dad could be going up the river for life, and these two, who prosecutors believe knew about it, post at least, but maybe even during, they were getting nothing. The jury knows that. That's a big factor, is it not?
Absolutely, and they definitely got the deals of the century, and I'm not really sure why, especially with Caitlin, because there's an argument that she could be the killer. So I just don't understand. I don't feel like Caitlin brought enough information to warrant such an amazing deal. And then we didn't hear from the wife at all. Yeah. So they got really, really lucky. And I hope they count their lucky stars, because
especially that wife. She didn't even have to testify. Yeah, the wife just got the deal without having to do the work. All right, we need a break. Thank you, everybody. Josh Colesrud, Claudia King, and Ellis Palavidas. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thank you for your valuable time on this Friday night. We'll get a break. When we come back, we'll reveal something else you need to know. Plus, coming up next hour on Vinnie Politan Investigates.
Tonight on VPI, from music mogul to convicted criminal, Sean Diddy Combs is locked up as he awaits sentencing on the 2 charges he was convicted of during his highly publicized trial. Will his career ever recover?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Weeknights at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Time of the show where we reveal something else you need to know. The former University of Kentucky cheerleader accused of hiding a dead infant in a closet was back in court today. Laken Snelling is charged with abuse of a corpse and concealing a birth after a body was found. Infant's body was found wrapped in a towel and a trash bag inside a closet. And we're learning new details about the baby, according to reporting by the Kentucky Colonel. Records from the Lexington Police Department revealed that the newborn baby, according to Laken Snelling, appeared to be full term. The student publication says the Snelling told medical staff at the UK hospital that her baby displayed movements and a whimper, saying she guessed the baby, yes, was alive at the time. Snelling appeared just briefly today with her attorney. She waived her right to a preliminary hearing meeting. The case goes to a grand jury.
And you were Laken Snelling? Yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was prepared to waive this in the grand jury. The county attorney's office is this legal case, so I'll just have to waive that.
Okay. Ms. Snelling, you just heard your attorney state that it's your desire to waive this matter to the Fayette County grand jury. You understood you got a right to have a preliminary hearing this morning, but it is your desire to waive this matter at this time? Yes. Okay. I know that you have posted in electronic monitoring, residing with parents, all of that still in place, correct? Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There we go.
Mr. Chandler, I'm setting on your docket.
And Snelling currently out on bond. She is on house arrest, staying with her parents in the state of Tennessee. Before we go, we want you to take a look at this picture right now. This is Mckengie Anderson. She is 16 years old. She was last seen in Pompano Beach, Florida on September 18th. If you have any information about where Mckengie is tonight, please call the Broward County Sheriff's Department. That number is on your screen. Or you can always call 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST. Let's see if we can get Mckengie home to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere, because we do have another hour of live true crime coming up with Vinnie Politan Investigates.